There was once a group of demons that nearly destroyed the world. To this day, these demons have revived. The catastrophe they bring to the world is unimaginable to ordinary people. Naruto and his companions now bear the heavy responsibility of saving the world and embark on a new journey. In a dark cave, Naruto is fighting with a mutated giant octopus. Naruto's shadow clones are numerous, but the octopus's tentacles are too many. They temporarily ended in a draw. However, the octopus has too many tentacles. Naruto, not paying attention, was pierced through the heart by the wildly thrashing tentacles. The scene then shifts to Konohagakure no Sato, where Lee, Sakura, and Neji are deeply saddened as they bury Naruto. A tombstone marked Uzumaki Naruto stands prominently in front of the grave. Naruto is dead, and the anime ends. Of course, that's not true. How could Naruto, the protagonist, die so easily? This was all just a scene from a girl's dream. On a desolate mountaintop, a bearded man in black clothes named Yomi is infusing chakra into his 4 subordinates. After the infusion, they excitedly rush down the mountain. They arrive at the gates of an underground palace and clash with the palace guards. Soon the palace guards are defeated, and the group opens the gates of the underground palace. As the sensor lights turn on, Yomi enters the palace, breaks the seal, and releases the legendary demon Morio, the one that nearly destroyed the world. Long ago, Morio created the Undead Legion, which provoked wars among nations, pushing the continent to the brink of annihilation. Later, Morio was sealed by the priestess Miroku of the Land of Demons. Morio's spirit and body were sealed separately, the spirit in the Land of Demons and the body in the Land of Swamps. Only when the spirit and body are reunited can Morio truly revive. To provide a temporary home for Morio, Yomi cuts open his own stomach to merge with it, gaining Morio's powerful strength. Yomi summons the Undead Legion to fulfill Morio's wish to kill the priestess of the Land of Demons, as she is the only one capable of sealing Morio. News of Morio's revival spreads wildly among the 5 nations. Everyone knows Morio has returned. Naruto, hearing this news, is fired up as he just finished his training and is looking for an opportunity to show off his skills. Tsunade calls Naruto to a meeting, giving him good news and bad news. The good news is that she wants Naruto to participate in the war. The bad news is that it's not his turn to go to the battlefield. Tsunade only assigns him to protect the priestess Shion of the Land of Demons, along with Sakura, Lee, and Neji. Naruto's ambitions are crushed into dust. In the middle of the night, Yomi, instead of sleeping, calls his 4 subordinates again and sends them to kill the priestess of the Land of Demons. Before leaving, Yomi gives each of the 4 subordinates a bug that enters their bodies, granting them tremendous power. With enhanced eyes and new tattoos, the 4 enter the sleeping quarters of Priestess Shion. The ordinary guards of the Land of Demons cannot compare to the current power of the 4. Soon, they reach Shion's sleeping quarters and close in on her. Just then, Naruto makes an impressive entrance with a stylish dive and a powerful landing, immediately falling face first. Naruto quickly stands up to protect Shion, declaring that anyone who wants to kill the priestess must step over his dead body. Naruto uses the Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and his shadow clones swarm like bees, which is quite overwhelming. However, all these shadow clones are trapped underground by the 4 using a combination of wind and fire attacks, effectively killing them. Neji uses his Byakugan to search for Shion and finds her near a waterfall deep in the temple, with an enemy approaching her. Neji goes alone to protect Shion, leaving Sakura and Lee to handle the aftermath. Fortunately, Neji arrives just in time to stop Kusuna, the eldest of the 4, from attacking Shion. The remaining 3, Naruto, Sakura, and Lee, suddenly run away as they lose their tattoos and enhanced eyes, revealing that their chakra is depleted. Unable to replenish their chakra during the fight, the 4 temporarily retreat. Shion survives with everyone's protection, but she coldly states that the deaths of those who protected her were expected, and her survival is their greatest wish. This statement is chillingly cold-hearted. Furious, Naruto rushes up to Shion, grabbing her by the collar and shouting angrily. At that moment, Shion finally saw Naruto's face clearly. She was stunned. This Naruto was the same boy from her dream a few days ago, the one who was stabbed through by a giant octopus. She even said so herself. Naruto, however, didn't believe that a dream could predict his death. But Shion's subordinate told him that the priestess's predictions of death were 100% accurate. Naruto was completely shocked. The Undead Legion was still slowly but firmly advancing towards the land of demons. Although numerous heroes tried to annihilate them along the way, it was too difficult. This group of the Undead Legion felt no pain or fatigue, were indestructible and mighty. Nothing could stop them from finding the priestess. To ensure Shion's safety, everyone decided to temporarily relocate. Just as everyone was packing up to evacuate, Naruto walked in wearing strange equipment. It seemed he had taken the prophecy seriously, donning armor that was so stiff he could hardly bend his legs. The group moved quickly through the jungle, originally only consisting of Naruto, Neji, Sakura, Lee, and Shion. However, Shion's personal guard, Teruho, insisted on coming along despite her objections. Shion had always portrayed herself as cold and selfish, but now she had inexplicably become tender-hearted and adamantly refused to let Teruho follow. The group tried to avoid Teruho by running through the mountains as fast as lightning, but Teruho kept up, always trailing a little behind. At night, when everyone was resting, Naruto chatted with Teruho and learned that the subjects of Shion's death predictions were usually people close to her, who never regretted sacrificing themselves to protect the priestess. To the uninformed onlookers, Shion seemed like a dangerous beast, as being near her meant death, which is why she grew up alone from childhood. Naruto had just internally lamented Shion's tragic childhood when he realized Shion was standing right behind them. She had dreamed of Teruho's death. Because the four-man squad was proficient with fire release attacks, Neji led them to take a route with water to the land of swamps. However, they were mistaken. A water dragon swept in, causing panic among the group. The four, who had just replenished their chakra, stood on a nearby cliff. The blonde man swung his arms, controlling the water dragon to attack towards Shion and her group. Neji was surprised. Didn't the blonde man use fire release last time? Naruto threw a punch at the blonde man, who was distracted and couldn't control the water dragon, causing it to instantly dissipate. Lee wanted to help Naruto, but was stopped by a white-haired man from the four-man squad. The blonde man then used Sweeten, turning the water at his feet into knives and rapidly approaching Naruto. Naruto tried to move higher to dodge the Sweeten attack, but the blonde man's Sweeten attack was all-encompassing, leaving Naruto with no place to hide. He had no choice but to use the Taju Kagabunsen no Jutsu, creating thousands of Narutos to attack the blonde man. The blonde man calmly unleashed the water dragon whip, turning water into countless whips, wiping out all of Naruto's shadow clones. The white-haired man fought fiercely with Lee. He knew Lee was good at direct combat. The white-haired man's hand suddenly turned into a giant stone hand and struck hard at Lee. Lee quickly unwrapped the bandages on his hands and tightly bound the white-haired man, then slammed him to the ground. After a cloud of smoke, the white-haired man had turned into a stone man, his huge arms attacking Lee, mocking him for only knowing taijutsu and not ninjutsu. Lee, infuriated by the mockery, erupted in anger and unleashed the 8 gates, shattering the stone armor on the white-haired man's body. The white-haired man forced the insects inside his body out, snapped them off, and ate them, gaining even greater strength. Even his older brother, Kusuna, who was several kilometers away, felt his transformation. The white-haired man transformed again, this time into a monster with 3 heads and 6 arms, with more hands for faster attacks. Lee, realizing he was overwhelmed, suddenly remembered a secret weapon his teacher Guy had given him, which turned out to be liquor-filled chocolates. After eating them, Lee indeed felt dizzy, his face turned as red as an apple, and his body felt like it was melting. Taking advantage of his dizziness, Lee quickly executed the Urikaren, and the white-haired man was confusedly defeated. Neji, attracting the attention of the other 2 members of the four-man squad, ran swiftly through the forest. He suddenly discovered that Kusuna and the blue-haired man, who had been chasing him for so long, hadn't used their joint attack, which was actually just a shadow clone of Kusuna. Kusuna's real body had already caught up to Sakura from behind, released insects that severely bit her, then watched as Sakura carried Shion away. Sakura placed Shion on a tree, intending to antidote herself. But it was too late. The poison spread quickly, and Sakura's body became unresponsive. Meanwhile, Naruto was still confronting the blonde man. He used 2 shadow clones to distract the blonde man, while his real body sneaked up behind him and delivered a heavy punch, creating a large hole in his body. The blonde man immediately turned into a puddle of water, intending to escape. Naruto finally realized they had all fallen for the lure the tiger away from the mountain trap, and hurried back to find Neji and Sakura. By the time Naruto, accompanied by Lee whom he met on the way, got back to Neji and Sakura, it was already too late. Shion lay lifeless on the ground. She had been killed. Before Naruto could unleash his anger, another Shion emerged from the woods. She explained that the one who died was Taruho, who had transformed into Shion's likeness to die in her place. Naruto was deeply grieved and intended to mourn Taruho, but Shion said that Taruho had volunteered to sacrifice his life for her, so there was no need for mourning. With that, she ran off alone. Naruto could no longer suppress his anger and chased after Shion, accusing her of being cold and heartless, until Shion could run no more. Crying, she told Naruto that the so-called prophecy of death occurred when the priestess sensed her impending death. Her soul would leave her body and show her past self the moment of her death. If those around the priestess were willing to trade their lives, they would sacrifice themselves to save the priestess. Thus, these two emotions formed the prophecy of death. Every person who died did so to save the priestess's life. Shion wished it had been her who died instead, as she couldn't bear to see anyone else sacrifice themselves for her, but she was afraid to die. If she died, there would be no one left to seal Morio. That was the destiny of being the priestess. When the group went back to report to Yomi, Yomi sensed that the person they had killed was not the real priestess. The group had no choice but to set out again to assassinate the priestess. Meanwhile, Naruto and the others had just buried Taruho. They decided that Naruto would carry Shion to the land of swamps, while the others stayed behind to draw fire. Sure enough, as soon as Naruto left, the group attacked. This battle was destined to be a test of endurance, for Neji and the others knew that the group's chakra would eventually run out, and that would be the perfect time to counterattack. Soon, the group's chakra was depleted. Facing a multitude of brothers, Kusuna was helpless. He simply didn't have the time to recharge everyone because Neji had targeted him. Neji executed the 8 trigram 64 palms, striking all of Kusuna's vital points, preventing chakra from flowing through his body. Led by Neji, everyone fought back vigorously, and the group couldn't get up again. Naruto, carrying Shion, finally reached their destination, the shrine in the land of swamps, where Morio's physical body was buried. As Naruto was about to jump into the shrine with Shion, they suddenly encountered the Undead Legion lying in ambush. These undead warriors were extremely fierce, and during the fight, Shion slipped from Naruto's back. This time, she was determined to die. If she died, no one else would have to sacrifice themselves to save her. As Shion closed her eyes to meet her fate, Naruto suddenly caught her, and they fell into a pool of water. After climbing out of the water, Shion couldn't face Naruto, as in her dreams, Naruto would eventually die for her. But Naruto reassured Shion, telling her that he was not going to die. Encouraged by Naruto's promise, Shion regained her fighting spirit. Naruto went out to engage the Undead Legion with his shadow clones, while Shion hurried into the shrine to seal Morio. But upon entering the shrine, Shion froze. The surroundings were exactly like the dreamscape where Naruto was killed. It took her a moment to realize that Yomi had been waiting there all along. Several Undead Legion soldiers approached Shion step by step, driving her to the edge of a lava pit. At that moment, the bell on Shion's chest burst into brilliant light, instantly turning the approaching Undead Legion into dust. Shion was amazed at her own great power, but Yomi mocked her for her ignorance of her abilities. In fact, Shion and Morio were originally the same person. The priestess's power was too strong. To avoid misusing that power, Shion's mother, Miroku, had split her own heart and mind into two, thus creating Shion and Morio. Ignoring Yomi's continuous talk, Shion activated the sealing barrier, but unexpectedly drew Yomi into it. Morio's soul also emerged from Yomi's body. Once opened, this barrier would not close, unless Shion's physical body and Morio's soul were united. Outside the shrine, Naruto was having a tough fight. These Undead Legion were fearless. They were not made of flesh, but Naruto was. This put Naruto at a disadvantage. As he was at his wit's end, Kakashi and others came to support him. Naruto happily handed over the battlefield to Kakashi and hurried into the shrine to check on Shion's sealing progress. Naruto entered the shrine only to find the atmosphere disturbing. Shion was sitting on the ground, distraught and crying. As he tried to approach Shion, suddenly, numerous tendrils emerged from the ground. In the middle of the tendrils, Shion fell into the depths of the earth. She entered Morio's body, but was unable to be consumed by it because Morio feared the bell hanging on Shion's chest. Initially half unconscious, Shion suddenly heard Naruto's cries. Realizing she was still alive, Shion feared that Naruto would sacrifice his life for her. She did not want such an event to happen again. Suddenly, numerous distant memories flooded Shion's mind. Days when her mother was still alive, how her mother taught and comforted her, how her mother sealed Morio and made her wear that little bell. That bell was Shion's strongest amulet. In fact, when Naruto was carrying Shion on his back, she had quietly hung the bell on Naruto. This time, she did not want Naruto to die in her place. She had to face her own fate. Protected by the little bell, Naruto escaped death several times, while Shion sank deeply into Morio's body, waiting for annihilation. However, she did not know that the little bell was actually a seal that had sealed most of Shion's power. Once the bell was removed, all of Shion's power burst forth. Shion transformed into her mother's likeness, and thus planned to do as her mother had done, to perish together with Morio. But just as Shion was about to act, the crisp sound of the bell rang out, and her power was sealed again. She opened her eyes to see Naruto, who had pulled her from the body. He could not stand to see this girl die. Fate might be unfair, but one must learn to say no to fate. A huge orb of light appeared in Naruto's hands. As Shion's desire to live grew stronger, the light orb also grew larger. Finally, Naruto, holding this gigantic Rasengan, threw it into Morio's body. After a nuclear-like explosion, Morio was blasted into pieces. With Morio's demise, the seemingly invincible undead legion was finally destroyed. The great battle subsided. Shion stated that to prevent such incidents from happening again, she would still serve as a priestess. In case a second or third Morio appeared in the world, she would also have the power to stop them. Being a priestess was Shion's mission. She intended to pass on the power of the priestess to the next priestess to ensure that evil would never rise again. Thank you all for watching. Let's meet again next time.